Now we have with us a very special person whom, when I first joined the charismatic group, was a small little girl that I used to know. But today she's grown out to be a very powerful voice for the youth and a very strong woman. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Nicole from Dubai, and she'll be doing the talk for today. Hello,
Thank
Nicole.
you.
Over to you,
Thank,
Nicole. Take it over.
thank you so much, Sean. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Good evening, brothers and sisters, and beautiful people of God. It's a very good evening to each and every one of you. Thank you, Karen and Megan, for that wonderful leading us in praise and worship. It truly was a beautiful experience. So, before I start today's talk, I'm going to ask you one simple question. Do we live in a beautiful world? Now, just pause. Let's think about that question and hold on to your answers. And at the end, I will ask you for them. So, do we live in a beautiful world? So, let's pause and let's look at these few pictures. Something very small that reminds us of what the world is really like. Babies, puppies, beautiful nature, sceneries. Is this a beautiful world? Do we live in a beautiful world? Today's talk is going to be about pursuing beauty. As a teenager, that's some of the most difficult things that you have to do. Is what is beauty? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But wait, let's take a step back and look at it through the eyes of Christ, through the eyes of a Catholic, through the eyes of a Christ, or through the eyes of Christ. Wonder and awe. There are moments in life where we experience something so beautiful that it takes our breath away. No matter how hard we try to explain those experiences to someone else, we can never seem to fully pinpoint why they are so captivating. I was reflecting on the thought of what is profound beauty and had I ever experienced it. I asked my mother, what is real beauty? She gave me a few things to think about. Was it the day at the hospital when I saw my baby sister for the first time, wrapped up in swaddling clothes? Or was it the day we went to Kerala to the tea plantations in Munnar and the sun was gleaming on those green tea leaves? Was it then? Was it when I was 6 or 7 years old for the first adoration I can remember, sitting and the monstrance looked like it was glowing? Was it then? And then I just remembered that day in December of 2017 when we went camping to Jabal Jais, the mountain range in Rak. We camped overnight, and just after around 5:30 in the morning, the sun rose over the horizon, being encompassed by the mountains. The sky was ethereal, it painted like a million watercolors dripped from the sky. It seemed like God was in his artist mode as usual. The early morning bleats from the mountain goats surrounded me, and in that moment, I felt small. I felt tiny, but I felt surrounded. I felt warm. I felt surrounded by beauty. Beauty that was real, full of awe, magic, something that I would never be able to explain. Beauty somehow as a way of grabbing hold of us, inviting us to consider what's behind it. Beauty motivates us to things we pursue, what we find attractive. We appreciate aesthetically pleasing Pinterest boards, well crafted Instagram accounts, or even advertisements with the flashy neon signs and things that are capitalized, are bold, and things that really catch your eye. But we experience beauty when we look at a beautiful landscape, sunrise, sunset, and reflect how small we are in the vast universe. In that moment, we understand that God created this for us. Beauty makes us feel connected to something larger than ourselves. It invites us into an experience. Have you ever looked of a close up of a picture of someone's eye where you can see the delicate coloring of their iris, the pupil, how it dilates in the camera light? Imagine on a daily basis you don't look directly into someone's eye, but that is beauty, wonder, and awe. Something so simple being significant of so much. They say eyes are the window to the soul. How often do you see someone's eyes? When you see a child looking at a candy bar or a lollipop in their uncle's hands or aunt's hands, full of wonder and awe, like that's for me, that's mine. Just like so many uncles used to give us all our candies before prayer meeting, with a promise not to eat it till it was over. Or all those little things when you go to touch a little kitten that's crossing the road, or the kittens in the church compound, because they're just there, they are harmless. That's beauty. Beauty is and ultimately the pursuit of God, the author and creator of beauty. The Catechism simply explains this by stating, the beauty of the universe, the beauty of creation reflects the infinite beauty of the Creator and ought to inspire the respect and submission of man's intellect and will. Creation inspires and reflects the infinite beauty of the Creator, Abba Father. Let's read from Wisdom chapter 13, verses 1 to 5. Anyone who does not know God is simply foolish. Such people look at the good things around them and still fail to see the living God. They have studied the things He made, but they have not recognized He who made them. Instead, they suppose that the gods who rule the world are fire, wind, storm, or the circling stars, or rushing water, or the heavenly bodies. People were so delighted with the beauty of these things that they thought that they must be gods. But they should have realized that these things have a master, and that he is much greater than all of them, for he is the creator of beauty, and he created them. Since people are amazed at the power of these things and how they behave, they ought to learn from them that their maker is far more powerful. When we realize how vast and beautiful the creation is, we are learning about the Creator at the same time. Before St. Augustine converted to Christianity, he heard the preachings of St. Ambrose and was convinced that Catholicism was true. But he still struggled to give himself over completely to God. When he shared the story of his conversion in his autobiography, he talked about how it was his experience of beauty that ultimately captured his heart. How I wept, deeply moved by your hymns, songs, and voices that echoed through your church. What emotion I experienced in them. These sounds flowed into my ears, distilling the truth in my heart. A feeling of devotion surged within me, and tears streamed down my face, tears that did me good. If we think about our journey of faith so far, it was probably not an answer to a question, a single talk, or an experience of the liturgy akin to what St. Augustine described that captured our hearts and inspired us to follow Jesus. It was more likely a person, several people, who invited us into the beauty of relationship with God and who responded to that beauty with joy. Joy is attractive, and true joy is a lived response to the beauty we experience in a relationship with God. We do not need to have all the answers or live perfect lives. But if people can see our relationship with God leads us to something beautiful and attractive, that alone can change hearts. that alone can bring us closer to God. So we'll have three small questions to discuss. I'd invite each and every one of you to unmute and answer them. Our first question is, when have you experienced something truly beautiful? What did you experience? Why was it so meaningful?
Okay, I think I'll take a shot at that question. Um, for me, I experienced true beauty was when I took a trip down to Rome for the World Youth what is it
Day.
World Youth Day. So it was my trip into Vatican that I realized, and I seeing the n number of youth around me, all worshiping and praising the same God. And that was when it clicked that I'm not alone in this. I used to feel very, out of place when I'm seeing all everybody in the church, but I think, where are youngsters, where are youth in this? But then it was there when I saw that there were millions upon millions of youth that were there in the Vatican, who were in awe of what they were seeing themselves, like me. And they all celebrated, the faith together and celebrated as a Catholic person together. And that was where I experienced true beauty of my faith about my God and stuff like that. And that's when I saw meaning and understanding of what I am and who I am, and the pride of being a true Catholic. Yeah.
And isn't that a beautiful experience? Something truly beautiful that each of us may not have experienced. But I think somewhere each of us have seen something truly beautiful. We just need a little push to recognize what it is. So let's have someone take a shot at the next question. How does beauty lead you to God? It's open to interpretation. It's your idea of beauty and who you think God is to you.
Don't be shy. Anybody can answer.
I'll answer a bit of the first question and then go to the second question. So for me, like when I see a little baby, the innocent look on your face, for me that is beauty. Even if it's a picture of a baby with an innocent face, that is like unbelievable. And how does it lead me? Because I can then feel, what a mighty God we have who creates such an innocent, beautiful creation, and then we human beings go ahead and spoil it as we grow up. And then he also brings us back. So basically, yeah, that's it. The beauty of creation is what uh, leads me to God.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Jawahar. Now, for our last question, something truly deep. Can you think of a person or an experience that invited you into the beauty of a relationship with God? What was particularly powerful about it?
I can answer that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. A little bit, how does the beauty of God lead you to God? When I went to London, yes, I think I was in States or London, I don't remember. Um, I was alone. Then it was a very beautiful flower garden and followed by the herbals.
Dilip, we
Herbs.
cannot hear you clearly. Sorry to interrupt.
Can you hear me now?
Louder?
Can you hear me now? Maybe because it's raining here.
Okay.
Uh, so it was, colorful flowers and varieties. Such a small plants, as well as the side by it, there was herbals, many herbs I've seen it, which I have not seen it in other place. Like, I have, when we went to the grocery shop, you can see, but this real plant with herbs, and I said, Lord, you have created these things and how beautiful you are, how magnificent you are. And I was just thinking And it just passed 1, 2 hours. I did not know that so much time has passed to watching it, watching that. I supposed to go somewhere, but I was really mesmerized. So the experience led me, and I always see in the creation how God is great, and you can that beauty of that things in how great is God and how He has created everything else. This is such a small thing, God has created. So many things are there. This is so, and then it remain in me, like even I can sense it now. So in a short while, there's long to say many things, but how God is great and mighty and how He is beauty. This author of beauty, God on high. There is a beautiful hymn when I was in the school. I can't remember exactly the words. Author of beauty, God on high. So God is really great and mighty to create, little things, but I experience His power and His presence in the creation. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sister Lily, for that truly beautiful experience.
Nicole, can I share something?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is something that the beauty of relationship with God is when I was in college. I remember there was a blind school also associated with our college, and we had a couple there who were in love with each other. They were blind; they couldn't see each other, but they used to talk. I could see sometimes that they had arguments. They were angry with each other, and I used to wonder, my God, how come two people who cannot see but they still love each other so much? That love was so true because it was not physical beauty, it was not it was just the inner beauty that they loved. This is a relationship with God that we could have, is because we cannot see God, but if we could have the same, that how without seeing the person, you can still love that person so much. It's something that really touched me. And here we have eyes, we have everything, we have the intellect, everything, and still we fail to see the goodness in the person, but we just look at the outer beauty of that person. Sometimes we are not able to connect to God because only when God does something good for us, we love Him. Otherwise, we have those doubts. Which so this was something that I would like to share. I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Linda. Isn't it amazing how when we take a step back, we really understand how God is present in the little things, in the things that we don't recognize on a day-to-day basis, on the things that we don't think about on a day-to-day basis. But somehow God finds a way into our lives, even when we decide that we don't need Him around right now. What is counterfeit beauty? Now, being a teenager in the midst of social media and everyone being available on Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook, it's so easy to fall into the trap of counterfeit beauty. We all connect with beauty in different ways. Some of us find it in a sunset or an art piece. Some of us find it in heavy metal music or gut wrenching laughter with our friends. Regardless of where we experience this beauty, we all share the experience of being in awe by it. But this begs the question, if we all respond so powerfully to experiences of beauty, they happen all around us in music, art, creations, sculptures, artifacts. Why do we not believe in God? It's easy to believe in God, but is it easy to believe God? We believe in our Creator, but is it easy to believe in the promises He has for us? This creation is His promise. Because in our desire to experience beauty, we sometimes settle for glamour. Glamour lacks the true depth and that authentic beauty brings. We see examples of this on social media. Posts that include the type of life we want others to perceive we live. When we base a person's attractiveness solely on their physical appearance, when we obsess over material things. Glamour is what we experience when beauty stops at the surface and we become self centered. Isn't it ironic that we allow beauty to become self centered? Glamour is self centered, beauty is not. Why do we allow ourselves to be distracted by beauty or distracted by glamour when we do not choose to see the true beauty in a person? Because glamour focuses on what the item or person can do for us. Can it make us more beautiful, get us more likes? Can it make us more popular, more accepted? But whereas beauty stands on the outside, helps us draw outside of ourselves. It helps us realize that there is a community outside us that we are a part of, that we do not seek to gain from. This is a surface level imitation for beauty that is extremely prevalent in our culture. Most of us can name multiple examples in advertising where someone suggestively or superficially endorses an item. These advertisements are not selling attractive people. They're selling the idea that you can become an attractive person with that specific product. As it redirects our focus inwards, at this time, these advertisements make us want to be a beautiful person rather than the person who experiences beauty. This can create a distorted hunger for beauty. We can risk following for the cheap version of the real thing. Glamour is like the Chinese counterfeit product of beauty. You can get it at Dragon Mart, but once you do realize that the product has stopped working, the battery doesn't work, you can't go there because it has no maintenance, and then you realize that you've just spent your money on the wrong thing. That's what glamour is. Glamour is putting your money in the wrong place. So fall in love with beauty. The same distorted hunger for beauty is what caused King David to sin in the Old Testament. In 2 Samuel chapter 11 verses 1 to 4, the following spring, at the time of the year when kings usually go to war, David sent out Joab with his officers and the Israelite army. They defeated the Ammonites and besieged the kingdom of Rabbah, but David himself stayed in Jerusalem. One day, late in the afternoon, David got up from his nap and went to the palace roof. As he walked around up there, he saw a woman taking a bath in her house. She was very beautiful. So he sent a messenger to find out who she was and learned that she was Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam the Hittite and the wife of Uriah the Hittite. David sent messengers to get her. They brought her to him and he made love to her. When David saw Bathsheba bathing on her roof, he did not want to get to know her, find out her hopes, dreams, and passions. He wanted to pursue his glamour for her and use her. David saw Bathsheba's beauty as an end to his selfishness. His desire for her was about him and how she could make him feel. By pursuing Bathsheba through this lens alone, David turned away from the beauty of the relationship and fell into sin. Some of us may recall instances where we compromised our values to be a part of a particular group or have been jealous of what others may have received, be it birthdays, gifts, or even at Christmas, when instead of acknowledging the precious time we spend with our families and our friends, we choose to be jealous. Beauty is distorted to glamour when we recognize the gifts of others but pursue them for our selfish gain. Glamour distorts beauty because it seeks to take the place of beauty, cheapen it for profit, use, or pleasure. But that is not to say that marketing, fashion, and social media are bad. However, we need to be aware how they promote glamour and can use them as a means to share true beauty that invites others into something deeper. Let's have a small discussion. What is one way whether you know something in your life is glamorous or is it beautiful? I encourage everyone to unmute and give your ideas, your thoughts.
when you want to flaunt it always and keep talking about it, that's
As we think about these questions, how have you fallen for the allure of glamour in your life? How can you use things like social media to promote and share beauty? Let's truly understand what real beauty is, what it means, the real thing. How do you tell the difference between glamour and beauty? St. Thomas Aquinas said, there are three primary characteristics of beauty: integritas, wholeness; constantia, harmony; and claritas, radiance. Something is truly beautiful if it has wholeness, because it is complete. It is not deficient in any way and it requires nothing else. We experience wholeness when we take time to simply be still in God's presence. It can be during Mass, Eucharistic adoration, praying in our rooms, or even worship during the praise and worship meetings. It allows us to experience God just as He is, without the additions of something else, of a backing track. It's just us and God. Because God is whole, He is complete. He requires nothing else. Beauty is also something that has harmony, meaning that everything within it is in agreement and points in the same direction. Something has wholeness if it's complete, but it also has harmony if all the parts that make it whole are in agreement, pointing in the same direction. Nowadays, you may hear a song that may be composed in the most wonderfully pleasing way, but if the lyrics are crude, seeming only to add shock value, the song lacks true harmony and only seeks the attention that glamour brings. Something that is truly beautiful points in the same direction, and all truly beautiful things ultimately point to God. God is seen in the beauty of harmony, of wholeness, and radiance. Lastly, beauty is described by Aquinas as having radiance, where we get the word clarity, describing something that is clear or obvious. When something is radiant, it is obvious. When a person is radiant with joy, it is attractive. We want to know who they are, what their story is, what makes them so joyful. When a person turns on a bright light in a dark room, they do not have to tell anyone they did it. Everyone immediately knows. In fact, people will shield their eyes, groan loudly because the light is too bright. It's painful to the eyes that haven't adjusted. Glamour and beauty work the same way. If all we consume or value is a counterfeit for real beauty, we may be blinded and unable to see true beauty when it's right in front of us. Because glamour allows us to settle, stay in the dark, be ignorant. When Moses went up to Mount Sinai and spoke to God, when he was in the presence of God and he came back down from the mountain, he had to cover his face because his face shone with brightness. He was radiant, that the Israelites could not bear to see him because he shone so brightly. If we truly believe in true beauty, if we experience true beauty, they would lead us to God. And with the presence of God, we will be radiant, radiant with His joy, His presence, and His sparkle. We are meant to combat the darkness that glamour brings in our lives by bringing the light of Christ to others. We were baptized into the priestly office of Jesus, not as ordained priests, but taking up the role of common priesthood. Ordained priests allow us to experience the beauty and grace of Jesus through the sacraments. As part of the common priesthood, we fulfill our calling by living our faith in the world, sharing the beauty of a relationship with God with those who we encounter. we are called to share the good news, a message of hope and fulfillment to a world that is hungry for beauty and settling for the unfulfilling substitutes, settling for the Chinese and the Japanese makeovers of something that is truly beautiful. In 1 Peter 2 verses 9, but you are the chosen race, the king's priests, the holy nation, God's own people, chosen to proclaim the wonderful acts of God who called you out of darkness and into his own marvelous light. Each of us, brothers and sisters here in this meeting, are God's chosen race. We are his priests, his holy nation. We are his own people. Sometimes you want to walk around with a big sign on your chest that says, I am God's soldier. And that is your beauty. That is your radiance. That is Jesus shining in your life. So sometimes we can't wear a big sign on our backs and our shoulders, but we can wear it with a smile on our face, even when times are so hard, when people are losing jobs, when people are dying, when we are losing so much in the world around us. If we look at Christ, if we look at the church and the true beauty of God, we are wearing our sign on our backs that say, you know that we are Christians by our love, by our beauty, by our radiance. God created us and wants to fulfill our every desire. There is no fulfillment in a lifestyle that seeks to be satisfied by glamour. We will never be able to see what lies beyond the surface in another person, an experience, or relationship if we only pursue our initial attractions and impulses. In fact, it's not too different from what animals do. But God created us differently. He created us in his image and likeness. But because sin is what separates us from him, we are constantly seeking for a fulfillment that God only can offer. But we are impatient people. We refuse to wait for his plan, for his love, for his mercy, and we stuff it. We turn to instant gratification. And there we find glamour. But if we want lasting fulfillment to satisfy the deepest desires of our hearts, beauty is the only way, as it does not invite us into temporary satisfaction, but into an everlasting relationship with the author of beauty himself. In Genesis 1, verses 26 to 27, then God said, and now we will make human beings. They will be like us and resemble us. They will have power over the fish, the birds, the animals, domestic and wild, large and small. So God created human beings, making them to be like himself. He created them male and female. What strikes us is in the lines, making them to be like himself. We are made in his image and likeness, made to be whole, made to be radiant, made to be in harmony with him. As Psalm 37 verse 4 says, seek your happiness in the Lord and he will give you your heart's desire. This is our heart's desire, O Lord, is to be like you, to be beautiful like you, to reflect your beauty in the world around us that is being fulfilled by glamour, by instant gratification, and that is running out of places to find it. Let's look at the words of Pope Francis on true beauty. On June 21st of this month, Pope Francis tweeted, every expression of true beauty can be acknowledged as a path of leading to an encounter with the Lord Jesus. Christ is alive and desires that each of you live. He is the true beauty and youth of this world. Everything he touches becomes young, new, full of life and meaning. We are full of life and meaning. Christ has touched our lives in everything we do, in everything we say, in every plan we make. So you are young, you are new, you are his creation. You are filled with the true beauty of God. Sometimes you just need to dust out the old cobwebs of glamour, of instant gratification, and just surrender to the true beauty of God. Pope Francis once said before his apostolic blessing when he spoke to the artists of all who are Catholic and said about the Virgin Mary, the Tota Bukra, the all beautiful one, calling her God's true spark of beauty. He prayed that she may illumine our daily journey by her maternal protection. He called Mama Mary God's true spark of beauty. When we intercede to our Mother, to our Holy Mother, let us call on her to fill our lives with her beauty, with her radiance. For she is perfect, for she is made to be whole. When we honor Mother Mary, we honor God's creation in her, God's fulfillment of his promises. And that is the same plans he has for us. And when we look around the world and we are awed by creation, we feel consumed in the intricate details the world has designed. Remember the Creator, the Alpha and the Omega, God Himself, and you are His creation. You, each and every one of us, brothers and sisters here in this meeting today, are designed in His image. And if He is perfect, His creation is made with the potential to be perfect. Let your true beauty shine before others as the grace of Christ Jesus floods your heart and fills you, making you radiant. As I conclude this talk, let me go back to the question I posed to everyone at the beginning of the session. Do we live in a beautiful world? Now I would like at least one person to answer and tell me, based on what this talk was about, do we live in a beautiful world?
Yes, we live in a beautiful world created by God.
Thank you, Sister Winnie. Yes, we live in a beautiful world filled with God's radiance. So let us not be fooled by the glamour that this world promises us, that shows us. And thank you everyone for listening. It truly was a pleasure. And let your true inner beauty shine brighter than the glamour this world has to offer. Thank you, and over to you, Sean.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for that beautiful talk. And it deserves a round of applause from each and every one of us, especially the praise and worship team. Thank you so much for that. You won't believe that the praise and worship team and the talk was done within